Marvel has created origin stories that have become ingrained in pop culture. Everybody knows them. But they have also come up with some origins that have caused more confusion than anything else, like how someone can be their own grandfather. Here are just a few Marvel origins we still don't understand, or they just give me a massive headache. In the MCU, Vision's origin is honestly pretty easy to follow. Can't say the same for whatever is happening in the comics. In the comics, Vision came from the original Human Torch, aka the first artificial man ever created, and Ultron was responsible for constructing Vision. It was later discovered that the Human Torch Ultron got his hands on wasn't the original, it was a temporal replica that was generated using the Forever Crystal. Because of this, Vision wouldn't activate, and Ultron was forced to bring in the OG Human Torch's creator into the mix, forcing him to fix Vision. The brain of Wonder Man was used to do that, so he is the Human Torch and Wonder Man, while also not truly being either, so there you go. Next is the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, because they just can't seem to catch a break. So when it comes to their origins, and no matter which one you look at, there are still a million questions. So for the longest time, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were the children of Magneto. His wife Magda had been pregnant with twins when she disappeared, and it's not hard to believe that Magneto, one of the most powerful mutants alive, would be the father of a powerful witch and speedster. Now, that origin has been retconned, something many Marvel readers hate, but even if it wasn't, there are still some questions I need answered. Like, why were Magda's twins delivered by an evolved cow? Why was that the choice? Now that this origin has been retconned, who and where are the twins that Magda gave birth to? The current story with Wanda and Pietro is that they were the children of Natalia, the sister of the couple that ended up caring for the twins. The High Evolutionary kidnapped the twins from this couple and experimented on them, making them appear as regular mutants. Then they were returned. This is still pretty new for an origin. For decades, Wanda and Pietro were Magneto's kids, so it's taking some getting used to. At least Magneto still sees them as his children, even if it's not by blood. North Star's life is so wild, it's almost like they used a random job generator and just like ran with it. The guy has joined the circus, a Quebec separatist group, Alpha Flight, which is Canada's super team, and he's an Olympic skiing champion. He is also a twin. However, he didn't find that out until much later in life, because when they were children, their parents got into a crash and passed on. They were separated, and North Star ended up being adopted, only for his adoptive parents to also pass in an accident. And at that point, I would personally start asking questions. Someone has to have it out for you. In adulthood, the twins were reunited, and it was so nice, but then they were contacted by Loki, who told them that they were part elf, so they spent some time thinking that they were elves. It wasn't true though. Loki lied, and that's that. Forever Man is maybe the first mutant to ever exist, and yet he doesn't seem to have made any mark on the Marvel fandom. Don't get me wrong, Forever Man has done a lot of stuff, but for a guy that has had since the beginning of time, he really hasn't amassed a large following. Forever Man, whose mutant power is regeneration. If he passes, he just comes back to life as a child, allegedly with no memories of his past lives. However, that might not be true anymore. He claims to have had 10,000 names in his lifetime. Apparently, his memories were reawakened after a particularly grueling passing. Then he met the Avengers, and when they couldn't help him stop his mutant ability, he flew himself into the sun. But that only caused him to be stuck in a constant resurrection cycle until he exploded back to Earth as a kid again, and we don't really know if he remembers who he is after that point, because we don't really see him again. I believe his last appearance was Avengers 2:18 from 1982. Is he still around? He should be. As long as the Earth spins, he's around. We actually don't really know where he even came from. My favorite thing he ever did though, in one of his lifetimes, he accidentally almost made the entire United States country disappear when he tried erasing Captain America from existence. Have you ever wanted to read about an elf with lots of firepower and almost no consistent backstory? Then boy, do I have the character for you. His name is Melf, M-E-L-F, but his alias is Elf with a weapon, and that's it. That's what he is. It seems that he is part of a bigger group, elves with weapons. We don't know where he's from officially, but the elves are supposed to be agents for the Tribunals, a force dedicated to preserving order in the universe. Melf was a weird guy and would go around offing random people, and he was never caught. He was only stopped because he was run over by a truck. His nephew, Ralph, then took up his undisclosed mission. However, if he was working for the Tribunals, then and maybe his victims weren't random, and wouldn't that be a great and easy to follow explanation? So of course that was retconned. Doctor Strange claims that the tribunals were fake, and we are once again back to wondering why the elves even exist. Retcons and identity theft have led to quite a confusing backstory for Zorn. Zorn's debut was in New X-Men Annual 2001, and at the end he was revealed to be Magneto in disguise. Only he wasn't. Later it was revealed that it was actually Zorn, pretending to be Magneto, pretending to be Zorn. And Zorn is being controlled by someone named Sublime to foster mutant hatred in the world. At the end of the Magneto identity theft fight, Zorn dies, but not really. His body is done for, but his essence was still around through his connection to Sublime, so he came back. The creator of Zorn in 2001 always intended for Zorn to be Magneto, actually Magneto, so when you read that story, there are hints to it the whole way through. It was because the editors liked Zorn's character and Marvel wanted Magneto alive so they could use him again that the confusing aspect of his story was born. Zorn also has a twin brother with very similar powers to him, so sometimes Zorn returns, but it's Zorn 2. What is it with Marvel and twins? Up next, Cable, or Nathan Summers, because what's even going on there? He is the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey, but his birth was kind of orchestrated by Mr. Sinister after he discovered that the two X-Men would produce a super powerful offspring if given the chance. Sinister wanted to use this offspring to defeat Apocalypse, but then he ran into a bit of a problem when Jean seemingly passed away. She was actually just at the bottom of Jamaica Bay, so he created a clone of her, Madeline Pryor. She was the one who married Scott and had a kid with him, and then somehow, after that is when everything really hit the fan. Jean Grey appeared alive, Scott left his family, little Cable was kidnapped, and all records of him were erased from existence. A psi bond was created between him and his sister, Rachel Summers, from an alternate reality, and then we had that huge battle in New York where Madeline tried using all the littles to open up a portal. It didn't work. Then Nathan was kidnapped again and infected with a virus that couldn't be cured in the present, so obviously he was sent 2,000 years into the future. And then in the future he was cloned because they were worried they couldn't cure him after all. Apocalypse claimed to be that clone and kidnapped, I guess, baby him to raise to be a host body when he needs it. Cable just has all the spots on the Marvel bingo filled out. Time travel, cloned, super parents that were also cloned, evil self, kidnapped, and that is only the beginning. Being introduced to Eric the Red, and particularly his choice of outfit, is not something I will ever forget, because what is going on there? Scott Summers created this fake identity, Eric the Red, so he could infiltrate a villain organization, and that's fair, that makes sense, but then Marvel made a real Eric the Red that isn't Cyclops, but he wears the same outfit, and the outfits are very specific, so how did Scott even get it? There seems to be no correlation between the two other than the identity name, so whatever that means. Kang is mine, and now it seems the MCU's biggest headache. One thing seems to generally stay the same for him. Every version of Kang starts out as Nathaniel Richards. Where Nathaniel came from though, well, we have options. There was a Nathaniel from Earth 616 that brought peace to Earth 6311 when he traveled there. This made him a big deal. He was known as the legendary benefactor, but he wasn't the Nathaniel native to that planet, so another Nathaniel was eventually born. This Nathaniel was maybe descended from the great benefactor himself or Doctor Doom. This Nathaniel's history was messed up by another him, causing him to be a good guy for a while. Nathaniel grows up and is bored, so he travels back in time to Earth 616's ancient Egypt to be king. Eventually, he tries to return home, but is caught in a time storm and transported ahead to the 40th century, Earth 6311. The future is a mess. They are at war, and the people have regressed into barbarians. Nathaniel has found the perfect group to conquer. This is the first time he takes on the name Kang the Conqueror. He conquers Earth 6311, that galaxy, and then tries to attack Earth 616. He wanted more power, but there was also a historical record that said that eventually a celestial Madonna was going to give birth to the most powerful entity ever, and Kang wanted to be their dad. This was the confusing origin of one version of Kang, but generally considered to be the base Kang, kind of. There are a lot of things in the Marvel Universe that give me headaches, but Shatterstar's origin is really something special. The man is somehow the son and the father of fellow X-Men Longshot. How does that happen? Well, Shatterstar was sent back in time to the Mojoverse, which we will cover in a second because that is all so weird, but he was sent back in time. He was experimented on in the past, and his DNA was used to create Longshot, so therefore, he is Longshot's father. Years down the road, Longshot and Dazzler have a baby. baby, and that baby was Shatterstar. And guess what? Shatterstar helped deliver that baby. That makes Shatterstar Longshot's father and son and his own grandfather and midwife. Because Marvel can't seem to relax, they decided that Longshot and Dazzler would forget the pregnancy ever happened, and Shatterstar was launched 100 years into the future. The guy lived in Mojo World, a realm where TV basically controls everything. Shatterstar lived here for a long time, competing in arenas. It's where he learned to become a warrior. Then he escaped to Earth, where he was a founding member of X-Force, and then at one point we find out that Shatterstar was maybe split in half or just had a twin. His name was Benjamin Russell, and he was in a coma the minute his powers manifested, but looked exactly like Shatterstar and was his other half. The two were eventually combined, which left Shatterstar feeling whole again. So that's him, but what do you think? Let us know. Bye!